There once was a man from Berlin who balanced an egg on his chin. I don't know how to rhyme, so I think that it's time for my learning in the subject to begin. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day. And in today's video, we are going to be sitting back, relaxing, and covering a very niche topic in the world of TCG investments. And I say investments because this applies more to the investment side of things. Obviously, collectors could encounter this hurdle themselves, but it's more likely to come up, I think, in investor circles. And it's kind of I don't want to say it's a mistaken mindset so much as a logical fallacy, but it's something that I see so often in the world of card game investments that I'm kind of surprised not more content creators are talking about it. And that is basically a lot of people from time to time they will make the same mistake when it comes to evaluating which items are worth investing in for the long term, whether it be sealed product or singles. And that is, far too many people get caught up with the value of scarcity alone, and a lot of them put a lot of stock in the idea that a rare item is, by virtue of its rarity, going to be a solid investment for the long term. And this comes up, maybe not in terms of discussion, but this is often a reason for why someone might want an item to hold in their collection for 5-ish plus years. And when people have that, is not maybe their only reason, but the primary reason. Rarity alone is not going to be the exact only reason someone wants an item, right? But rarity can be a huge factor. When people are using rarity, scarcity, whatever have you, as the primary factor in their decision, then they are forgetting something pretty important when it comes to the world of open market and financial exchange. And that is, markets operate with one of two factors. You all know them. It's supply and demand. This is very important, and when people are making their initial purchases off of scarcity alone, I won't say they forget demand, but they don't really consider it in the moment, especially if they're newer to the idea of investing in card games, etc. And this is something that people really need to think about, and think about strongly when they are considering buying a rarer item in the world of YuGiOh, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, whatever have you. Because far too many people are sooner or later going to have a nasty wake-up call where it doesn't matter how rare the item in question is. If nobody wants it, you're going to have a very hard time selling it for what you think it is worth. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it doesn't matter if it's the rarest item out there. If nobody wants it, you're going to have a rough time down the road. And there's countless examples in the world of various card games. There's just so many. One in particular, this here is Blackluster Soldier. This was a card that you could win by entering the Egyptian God Card Steal sweepstakes. And only about 2,000 of these cards were sent out to participants in North America. This is probably the rarest card I have in my collection, or at least it's definitely one of the rarest cards I own. And I can tell you that if I was going to try and sell this card or trade this card off, I'd be hard-pressed to find someone who actually wants it at its market price right now. Just because there's only so many people who are interested in spending a lot of money on YuGiOh right now. This is kind of a strange item. It's not an English card release. It's not technically a Japanese card release. It is technically a reprint of a highly desired normal monster Blackluster Soldier. And at the price point it's at, there's a lot better cards that some people would consider holy grails to have in their collection, even at the $200 or $300 or $400 mark. So, sure, I'm happy to have this card. want it in the sweepstakes, I wouldn't necessarily consider it something that's going to be particularly easy to trade off or sell off, though. And there's examples in every card game for this. Some are harder to find than others, but look at Magic the Gathering. Look at 30th anniversary edition for Magic the Gathering. This has been up for a while now. There's a chance of pulling a Black Lotus in these boxes. It's not a high chance, but the chance is there. And this is a fairly rare product. People have done estimations for how many were set out there and released into the world before, and it's not a huge number. And despite that, nobody seems to want these, and they don't sell all too frequently online. Moreover, they sell at about what they were originally priced at when it came out. I think 2 years ago now, almost. It feels like it's been 2 years at least. So, when it comes to products like Magic 30, if you do get it and nobody wants it, well then, down the road when you're trying to offload it, because you need that money for such and such, you may find yourself either losing money in the transaction or not making any money whatsoever because just nobody's buying it. At least nobody's buying it for what you think it should be worth. And a lot of people tend to get caught up in this. I wouldn't say everybody who's investing in the hobby because, it's not a universal problem, but it is definitely something that a lot of people newer to the world of TCG investing get caught up in. They will buy an item just because it's rare and they think they've finally caught their big break because it's rare and it's not that expensive for what it is. And they don't tend to think about why it's not too expensive. Why is nobody hankering for this item? And it just, it's something that I want to iterate everybody should consider thinking about when you see this card that was printed 20 years ago. It's pretty strong. There weren't too many printed. Why is it a $5 card? Why is it that nobody seems to want it? Is it just because it's not desirable? It's not really much of a collectible? Maybe it's the game. And that is a factor, let me tell you. When it comes to each of the card games out there, there are different things that the average player/collector is interested in spending money on. In Pokemon, it's always the newest, shiniest, flashiest cards. Everyone's super excited about illustration rares and special illustration rares. So a lot of the attention in Pokemon is towards those newer cards. In Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of the high-end spenders are almost exclusively favoring the oldest and rarest cards in the game. Not necessarily, we're talking Yu-Gi-Oh! GX and 5Ds era kinds of cards, where they're not interested in the Unlimited Edition Zexal cards. They're interested in Dark Magician from these first two sets. Magic the Gathering is doing a bit of both right now, where in theory a lot of the oldest and rarest cards are still desirable, but more and more often you're seeing people going for the newer sets like Universes Beyond, where they're trying to get all these new shiny Final Fantasy cards. And, depending on what game you're in, what you choose to invest in just because it's rare might or might not work out for you. And there's also the market trends to consider because, believe it or not, what people are interested in an average card game changes over time. And there might come a time in the near future where modern Pokemon cards are much less attractive to the average collector. And there's a huge shift towards maybe not the original oldest WotC era stuff, but, some of that Gen 4, Gen 5 cards. Those become all the rage. Everybody has to have... Did Heart Gold and Soul Silver have TCG sets? I bet they did. I bet Heart Gold and Soul Silver had sets, and those are going to be super in demand. Everyone needs their Ho-Oh card. So basically, what I'm trying to say in this video is when you're looking at an item, okay, just if you take one thing from this video, it's when you're looking at an item and you're considering buying it to hold on to it long term, if your primary reason for considering that purchase is just scarcity, give it a second thought, and a third thought, and a fourth thought. Just think long and hard about whether or not that's actually a good long-term hold, especially if you only have so much money to park into one item for the long term. That's all I'm trying to say here, kids. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share, subscribe, comment down below. I'd appreciate it very much if you could appease the algorithm on my behalf so that I can afford my cheeseburgers. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.